Hello, I'm Adam Collett from Bridgewater and Taunton College, and I'm here today to talk about coppicing in woodland, particularly hazel coppicing. What we're standing in here is a traditional hazel coppice. Around us we can see the low-lying hazel trees with these large round leaves, and this is a coppice that's been cut about 2 years ago. Coppicing is a technique where wood is harvested from the hazel tree and used for various techniques such as thatching, used for beam poles, used for tool handles, used for making all sorts of wooden craft items. Hazel is also a habitat tree for the hazel dormouse. And in coppicing, what we do is we generally do what's called a rotation. Hazel will regrow to a useful size about every 6 to 7 years. And so on that basis, we will coppice out a section of hazel, and then the following year move on to another section, and so on, usually in a rotation of 7 plots, so that each year there is useful material to remove from the hazel coppice. In this case, what we've done in terms of coppicing is to cut the trees down right to ground level, and here in this particular hazel tree we can see the stems that were cut around about 2 years ago, cut right down to ground level. And what has then happened is that the tree regrows around those cut shoots, and we get this lovely new growth coming up. And this new growth will then continue for about 6 to 7 years, when that will also be ready and a size where it can be cut and used for these various woodworking techniques. Hazel will regrow like this pretty much continuously, and very often in ancient woodland you will see very large hazel stalls. And the way you can tell that the hazel has been cut is because you will have multiple stems coming up from what appears to be one root, and they are in fact one tree. You will have lots and lots of stems coming up. Sometimes these can be anything up to sort of about 10 to 12 centimetres across, and that's when you know that there has been coppicing done many years ago, and the hazel has then just been allowed to regrow. But in a hazel rotation coppice such as this one, it will be done about every 6 to 7 years, and that useful material will be extracted and used, and then the trees will regrow. Just over behind us, through the trees here, we can see a small box hanging off one of our hazel trees. And this box is used for hazel dormice that are nesting in the hazel. If you ever visit a woodland that has a significant amount of hazel in it, you may well see these boxes hanging from the branches of the hazel trees, and those are nest boxes for the hazel dormouse. The hazel dormouse does not like to travel on ground. They will only like to travel from branch to branch, and so they need a coppice system like this, which provides lots and lots of hazel relatively close together for them to be able to get around the place, and for them to spread their genes across a wide area. So this sort of habitat is absolutely ideal for hazel dormice, and coppicing in this way helps to promote that habitat and ensure that they continue to survive in that particular woodland. It is becoming quite commonly used in conservation terms. Some of the things that can be done is that the hazel that's extracted can actually be piled into habitat piles around the woodland, and that provides habitat for insects, and therefore from that birds that then feed on those insects. So by creating these habitat piles you can actually encourage the biodiversity of the woodland and increase that to a significant degree. This hazel rotation has probably been in effect for around about 25 years, as you can see, there's various different stages of hazel growth behind us, some of it quite thick, some of it quite thin. But any woodland can be managed in this way. No matter how old it is, the hazel can always be cut down to ground level, leaving neat, very low-lying stumps, which will then regrow hazel spars from there, which can then be used. And any woodland can be returned to a coppice rotation system such as this.